You know exactly what you want. You can see it, and somehow you keep doing the one thing that takes you further from it. That's the part that messes with people. It's not that you don't know what to do, it's that you know and you watch yourself not do it. Like your body just doesn't do it without you. So let's actually talk about what self-sabotage really is. Not the surface version, the whole thing. Where it comes from, what's actually running it underneath, and the one piece almost nobody tells you that turns out to be the actual fix. Because I don't think it's what you've been told. Here's how I define it. Self-sabotage is when you have a want, a real one, somewhere in there, and you take actions directly opposed to it. You create less of what you want and more of what you don't want. See if this is you. Just when things start going well, you start wondering when the other shoe is going to drop. You start things with a ton of energy, and then like clockwork, you lose interest right when it stops being fun and get pulled towards something new. Never really give anything a true shot. You've got this quiet belief that you're here to make a real difference, and you keep letting that slip by without really going for it. You're tired a lot, stuck a lot, confused a lot. Like it's physically hard sometimes to keep moving. You overthink instead of act. You've decided you need it all figured out before you're allowed to start. You get overwhelmed easily. Like your nervous system genuinely can't hold what the next level would ask of you. And you don't ask for help. You've got this thing that says you have to do it all on your own. I'm not talking about the person who's completely broken. I'm talking about someone like, let's just call her Sophie. She's in a job that's fine, not bad. She really wants to make a difference in her life. She wants to have huge impact, but it just doesn't happen. She's drained from the work that she's doing. There's a real desire to move things forward, and it just doesn't happen. There's a gap between the wanting and the doing, and that's where sabotage lives. Before we get into what this actually is, let's clear out what it isn't, because I think most of the advice about this makes it worse. Myth number one is that you're just lazy. If you were lazy, none of this would confuse you. Lazy people don't lie awake wondering why they can't make themselves do the thing that they actually want. You've got the desire. That's exactly what makes this so disorienting. Myth number two, it's fear of failure. Closer, but it's still not it. Because a lot of you aren't sabotaging right now before you might fail. You're sabotaging right before you might succeed. Right at the edge of the thing actually working. That's backwards for a fear of failure story, which would have pulled you out before you're exposed, right? This shows up late, right at the threshold. Myth three, and this is one almost everyone gets fed, that you just need more discipline, more willpower, a stricter routine, a better dating app. Look, if discipline were the missing ingredient, it would show up as a general absence of drive across your whole life, but it doesn't. Most of you can push incredibly hard in some places for other people, for your job, for someone else's deadline, and then hit a wall at exactly the place that matters most to you. Discipline doesn't selectively disappear only at the doorway of the thing you actually want. So if it's not laziness and it's not fear of failure and it's not a discipline problem, what is it exactly? Here's the reframe. Self-sabotage isn't a discipline problem. It's a safety problem. Your system does what's familiar. Familiar feels safe even when familiar is miserable. So if you're used to being stuck, you'll take the actions that keep you stuck. It's time to get up. 5 more minutes. A chance to do great work. You do the bare minimum and move on. An evening you could use to build the thing you actually care about, and you just don't. None of that is actually laziness. That's a part of you keeping you where it's learned to be safe. Think about where it starts. Imagine you love somebody and they're blaming you for their pain. It's intense. You're scared and it hurts, and you don't have the tools or the support to make it stop. So your mind lands on a thought that weirdly calms you down. I deserve this. Something's wrong with me. I'm a screw up. It makes sense of the pain. And then you go back to living and you forget you ever thought about it. Until life hands you a shot at being seen as someone who's not a screw up. A shot at the relationship, the potential, the level up. And right at that threshold, you sabotage. Because doing well would contradict the story your system decided was safe. Your behavior protects the belief. Now here's the part I really want you to get, because almost no one talks about it. A huge amount of self-sabotage hides inside your energy. Years ago, I knew a guy, he had the same kind of job I had. But before work, he'd be up at 5 a.m. running major networking meetings, building sales trainings, starting companies, then going surfing, boundless. And I'd look at that and go, I'm tired. That's too much for me. I was maxed out. I had bigger dreams. I had huge dreams, and I felt completely stuck relative to what he was doing. Here's the trap. That forceful approach, the shame, the I need to fix this, that actually works inside a clear box. When the rules are obvious, show up, hit these numbers, force can carry you a long way. It carried me. But the strategies that got you to your current level are usually not the strategies that break you past it. Force gets you to the edge of your comfort zone. It cannot get you across it, because across it isn't a try harder problem. So the sabotage dresses up as reasonable. I just need to decompress. I'm at capacity. I'm so tired. And sometimes that's real rest. And sometimes it's the most polite way your system has of keeping you exactly where it is. I'll give you my own version of this because I've done the exact thing I was just describing. There was a point in my own business where things had just started to click, right at the edge of actually working the way I'd wanted to for years. And in that window, I found every reason to pull back, miss the follow-up, let something slide that I'd normally never let slide. I told myself I was just tired. I just needed a rest. I was at my capacity. But looking back, that wasn't really rest. That was the same mechanism I just described, running on me, right on schedule, right at the threshold. So here's where it actually starts to shift. And this comes from something I wrote a while back that I still think is exactly right in 3 steps. Step 1, understand. This behavior was learned. Somewhere you either lived through something that taught you that this was safe, or you watched someone else do it and your system copied it. Can you think of someone you witnessed self-sabotaging? Chances are some part of you learned the pattern by watching long before you ever lived it yourself. Step number 2, appreciate. And this is the one that people skip because it sounds literally insane. Appreciate a pattern that's wrecking your entire life? But that part of you isn't malicious. It picked this up trying to protect you from something. Sit with it instead of attacking it, and you'll find its intention was never to ruin your life. It was trying to keep you safe with the only tool that it had. Step number 3, choose new patterns. And here's the part that sounds simple and is actually the hardest thing in this whole video. Choice on its own doesn't hold. You can decide something at your desk on a Tuesday with total clarity, and then Thursday comes, the old pattern shows up in a body that's been running this loop for 20 years, and the decision that you made alone in your head loses. Not because you're weak, but because a private decision is exactly as strong as the story that you've been running privately for years. And that story's had way more reps. That's not a reason to give up on step number 3. It's the reason step 3 can't be done the same way you did steps 1 and 2. Choosing has to happen somewhere. The old pattern can't just quietly win in the dark, which is exactly what we get into next. Here's the part almost nobody selling you a fix on this will actually say. Insight isn't the most important piece. You can understand everything I just told you perfectly and completely and still do the same thing next Tuesday. That's actually the trap of a lot of self-help. One more framework, one more breakdown, one more video like this one, and each one feels like progress because understanding feels like progress. But you already understood plenty of this before you clicked on this video. Quite frankly, that was never the gap. What's actually missing is a witness, a room, people who see you clearly enough in real time that the old story can't keep running in the dark the way it's used to. Not one more framework, a different container for the choosing to happen inside of. So how do you actually stop this? Not with more force. You cannot shame a part of yourself into safety. The self-criticism is the comfort zone. One more way of staying exactly where you've always been, just dressed up as more effort. You do it by learning to love the part of you that needed to believe those things to feel safe, and slowly showing it that it's safe now, safe to be worthy, safe to be great, safe to actually live up to it. And you do that showing up in front of people, not alone in your head, because alone in your head is exactly where the old pattern has always won. And that's a lot of what we do inside the flow code. If any of this sounds like you, there's a free training I want you to check out that walks through the internal skill set underneath all of it. Links below. No rush, but I'd love to see you there.